I really enjoyed the session today. I found it very creative and very engaging. As a trainer, I'm not very good at being the one doing the sitting, so I found it really very, very interesting and intriguing.
The session was amazing. It was full of life. Christine's a pleasure, and I learned a lot.
I really enjoyed today's session, and I think Christine is quite amazing, a great speaker, very authentic, really lively, is able to put her ideas across in great stories that really get to the message. So she kept it very lively. It was really entertaining and useful.
I love the session. I just thought I'm very hard to impress. I've been in the sales business for a long time. I've worked with large organizations, and I just thought she was doing, she just does an excellent job. She's very authentic. She's very real.
I really enjoyed the session. I attend quite a few of these types of things, and I found this session to be really, really interesting. Christine is engaging. She is a great speaker. She speaks in a very real voice that I think really resonates with the audience. And you know, most of all, she just engages you. She engaged us from the beginning. And she really gave us real life examples of what works for her, and there's no way you could walk out of that session and not feel inspired to do something differently.
So I was looking one day at my lovely executive assistant, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to train you to do my prospecting for me. And I have to tell you, when I broke the news to her, she was not happy. Okay? She had never done this kind of work before. She was a traditional executive assistant. But I set her up for support, and this is how I did it. I started her off with a great voicemail. You can build an entire relationship with voicemail. But more importantly, no one rejects you on voicemail, right? It's a one-way conversation. So I gave her a great voicemail, and we rehearsed it, and there's 4 key components of a great voicemail. First, you tell them why you're calling. Second, you establish credibility right away. You've got 10 seconds to do this, okay? The good work you've done for others. Let your clients speak for you. You know, yesterday I ran into Steve in the hall, and I didn't know who he was, but he was sitting beside, it's Dick, right? He was sitting beside Dick. And Dick told me everything about Steve. And I was like, wow! Right? Because it's so much more powerful when someone else talks about all the good things that you've done. Right? So establish credibility. Third, talk to them about what's in it for them. Why should they give up an hour or 2 hours of their time for you? All the good reasons why. And be concise. Talk in their language. And the fourth, the little hinge, is promise to send an email. And the reason we promise to send an email is that you can elicit help later on. Because you know, these Fortune 1000 companies, they have gatekeeping down to a fine art. It's like a vault, right? We don't hand out email addresses, but you can elicit support. There are ways, we've got lots of techniques in our book, but the easiest way is to ask the executive assistant to please help you. I've promised your decision maker, your boss, that I was going to send this email today.
Christine, as a presenter, I would say is very natural. She's very calm, she's very confident, and I think part of that comes from presenting or facilitating on a topic she knows so much about.
There's nothing pretentious or anything about her, and she just speaks from the heart. She's got this great, easy-going way of telling stories.
The neat thing I found was she didn't need any notes. Whenever I do presentations, I need notes and I follow them. She knew exactly what she was doing.
Christine's presentation was so authentic, and I think she, in some ways, she's talking about dealing with very tough, challenging business issues, and yet her approach just seems so friendly, so genuine. It's almost, the doors just seem to open, it sounded like, for her.
The authenticity and it's the honesty that people really appreciate when they're doing business.
Christine is calm, confident. She makes great eye contact.
One of the most powerful things I think was to prospect in abundance. I think so. It was prospect in abundance and to be ready for the no's and have your ability to come back on those no's ready when you call.
One of the most powerful things I learned today was persistence. You have to just keep knocking on the doors or making those calls, and you can't give up on that.
The most powerful thing I learned today was how to leave a voicemail that will invoke a callback.
The most powerful thing I heard today was to be sure you have a big reason for why you want to build your business. And I think I had that, and I think what today's session really helped me to do, that I'm so thankful for, is it really helped me put that into words, in a very few words, and be really clear on what I want to do and how I want to give back.
One of the most powerful things I learned today was her bit about building what I call a one-pager, but she called it her email presentation, and that was very powerful and very effective if it's done well.
The thing that was most powerful for me was to be prepared. I think she really brings that home. It's about preparing what you're going to say. It's about thinking through your value proposition. It's not just about preparing yourself, but preparing the people around you, the people who are going to help you talk about your business. So I think that was the most surprising thing. You know, salespeople as a rule are not always best known for preparedness. And I really learned that that's the skill set that is going to set people apart. So that was a great learning for me.
When you're picking your A list of clients, think about where you've been most profitable. Think of the clients that you've enjoyed working with the most. And I would suggest you start with similar type of clients. You know, when I was a new entrepreneur, and I think this happens to a lot of us, is that you take almost anything at first because you're new, right? You don't know what good business is. You don't know what bad business is because you haven't. One day I'm stressed out. I had this little tiny client, and I had these really big ones that were like a dream, but this little tiny client was driving me crazy, giving me an ulcer, right? I was sitting in my dentist's chair, and I said to Dr. Jusky, I said, how do you handle your stress? And he just turned to me on a dime and he said, fire your bad clients. You know, so sometimes, you know, go through magazines, right? Dream a little bit. Dream a little bit. Put your wish list together. You know what brings in the bread and butter? But always go after a few of those dream clients too. Who is the most powerful person at a Fortune 500 company? Any guesses?
Their assistant.
The executive assistant to the CEO. Thank you. Well done. 2 balls for you. That's right. She is the most powerful, overworked, underappreciated person at a Fortune 500 company. When I call the executive assistant to the president, I treat her like gold. And she feels that. And I enlist her to help me. And they love that if you arm them with the right tools. You know, that email is so important because sometimes that executive assistant is your ambassador. And that's what she's armed with. You've armed her with that letter. You never get to speak to that C-level decision maker. So never worry about how high is too high. It depends on your strategic offering. You know, is it going to resonate? Is it really going to impact real change within the organization?